Shall we see what everyone's talking about?
All right, take it away.
Good morning, Nigeria. I like to say that TVC has a finger on the pulse and an eye on the streets. And here on the Trending Now segment, we do our best to bring you trending stories that are shaping the world that you and I live in. I really missed you guys. Today, we begin with some news for the Jakba community, where Canada has rejected 1,596 asylum applications from Nigerians, but has approved almost 2/3 of the claims that were filed this year. Now, between January and August, Nigerians submitted 3,548 applications, and out of these, 2,292 were accepted, giving an approval rate of 65%. That's higher than in previous years, where more than 13,000 claims were turned down. A Canadian immigration law firm says that Nigeria is now among the top 5 countries sending asylum seekers to Canada, alongside Mexico, India, Haiti, and Colombia. Now, this trend is linked to insecurity from Boko Haram and worsening economic hardship back at home. And most Nigerian asylum seekers are currently in Ontario and Alberta. It's important to note, though, that under Canadian law, refugee status is only granted to people who can actively prove that they face prosecution, torture, or threats to life if they return to their home country. And as these numbers are increasingly growing, I think the question we have to ask is, what will it take to make home safe enough so that fewer people feel the need to run abroad? That's the question we've got to ask. Let's take a look at social media. Earl says, this is a wake-up call not just for immigration policy, but for Nigeria itself. People don't flee their country for fun. They're escaping insecurity, poverty, and a lack of opportunity. Instead of pointing fingers at Canada, maybe we should ask why so many Nigerians feel they have no choice but to leave. Until we fix the root problems at home, these numbers will keep rising, and so will the heartbreak. And Emmanuel Obisasan says they traveled from Nigeria to Canada, a 6,000-mile journey, to seek asylum due to fear of persecution amid unrest in the country. However, they bypassed neighboring countries where they might have been welcomed. And despite knowing the risks, including the possibility of death during the journey, they proceeded anyway. If this isn't taking advantage of the system in Canada, I don't know what else it is. This reminds me of a famous quote by the poet Keats. He said, "No one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark." But moving on, Athletics Federation of Nigeria has now dismissed claims by world record holder TVC Amusan that athletes were handed poor quality kits for the 2025 World Championships in Togo. The AFN is insisting that the hurdler was given the full kits as her teammates and even received special treatments in her travel arrangements. Over the weekend, if you recall, Nigeria's world champion hurdler, Miss Amusan, made headlines off the track by calling out the AFN over the distribution of competition gear at the World Championships in Tokyo. The AFN president, Tonobak Okowa, now says that Amusan's account is incomplete, and he's stressing that the kits were delivered in batches and that she had only displayed the one pack while the others were on the way. He also added that the only missing item was a travel bag, something that athletes had already received from the world's governing body. He also pointed out that Amusan was given privileges that the other athletes didn't get. Apparently, while the rest of the team, Nigeria, flew economy, she was upgraded to business class at her own request. He further reminded Nigerians that High Racer, the global sportswear company that Amusan criticized, is sponsoring Nigeria and 19 other countries at the same championships, and it's fulfilled its obligation and is also offering podium bonuses for medalists. Once again, the AFN has come under a lot of fire. There was a lot of comparison online between our kits and the American kits and the Tokyo kits. It's very interesting to see. Let's take a look at social media. I'll take one too. Let's see what you had to say. D Chairman says, Amusan said this is the usual package they've been getting for years. This man should show us the full package if there is one. I love you holding them accountable, teacher man. Now, team, if you ask me, I think this goes into the psyche of our nation. We're yet to see sports as a tangible export, and it's why, you know, a team that is representing us on a global stage can come out and say we don't have all that we need. Why is it coming in batches if they're necessities? If that's his argument that they're coming, why is it coming in batches if they're necessities for them to, you know, go into the races fully kitted?
You know, what's really making me sad is that anytime stories like this come out,
it really makes me sad. It makes me wonder, are we living in a country where we don't know what we want, where we don't know what our own value, we don't know our own value? For the kids, they had a sponsor that is not only sponsoring Nigeria, but 19 other countries. Which athlete from one of those 19 countries had complained about the quality of those? So maybe Toby has very high taste. I mean, she moved herself from economy to business class, isn't it? So she has a very high taste. So let's just keep it there. These are the kind of things you find in social media where people will say she's right and others will say she's wrong. So let's just leave it there. The one that is really worrisome to me is that Nigeria is among 5 countries sending asylum seekers to Canada. The Nigerian government has to take care of the security situation in Nigeria very fast and grow the economy.
All right, I know, first of all, I'll start with, I don't have any problem in her having high taste. I would upgrade to business class any day, anytime. Comfort is first for me. But that's not even where I want to touch. I want to touch about, you know, there's this trend, Olamide, and when I say this, oftentimes I get bashed on social media when I say, you do not need to leave Nigeria to prosper. Or you to just have this mentality of the jackpot, the jackpot, the jackpot. I want to go to Canada, I want to go to America, I want to go to UK. We just feel like the grass is greener on the other side. And trust me, sometimes, Olamide, that grass is not green at all. Anything that will make you leave Nigeria, you just want to do it. We understand that there are hardships and all of that in Nigeria, but I need people to also understand that Nigeria is the land of milk and honey. If you're able to, you know, work hard and access that milk and honey, if you're a rich man in Nigeria, you can be a rich person anywhere. So I feel like we just need to stop. When I hear stories of migration, this, that, Canada rejected it, that, it just hurts me because I feel like we are sitting on gold and we do not understand it. We feel like until we travel out before we make it, but people are making it in Nigeria.
Yes, correct. I know a handful of people who also applied to Canada, you know, for JAPA, and these are people that have 3 houses, 3 cars, and they're thriving with their family, and then they just want to go to Canada, they just want to be there because they feel that, you know, some of their family members who are in Canada are also earning big, they're making more money. And thank God, I said, thank God they didn't give you the visa because you were asking for asylum, which is something bad. I do not consider it anything good for your caliber because you're earning big, you're earning well in Nigeria. So why are you asking or seeking asylum? And a whole lot of people filed for asylum when there is no problem. Imagine someone filing for asylum, you know, you are in Lagos and you're saying there's threat to your life, there's Boko Haram that wants to kill you and all of that, and then you tune to one of the international media. A reporter will be reporting from Abuja or reporting from Lagos, and they will put it, the caption will be Nigeria unrest. And you'll be like, the entire Nigeria is in flames whenever issues are happening inside, you know, Sambisa Forest and all of that. So we should think first, you know, do not think that the grass is greener on the other side. Canada, UK, US, name all of these countries, they have their own problems that they are facing. A whole lot of people are being killed over there in terms of insecurity. They also have it. But they only chose to show us the good side of their own news. But we always choose to show them the bad side of their own news. Whenever they show Africa, they always go to the villages, go to places, IDPs, and then they are telling this, the Nigerian story or the African story. For Toby Amusan, I think there is truth to every rumor. If she's not comfortable with some things and then she's complaining, then we need to do proper investigation. Show us the correct, you know, what's it called, materials, all of the things that they need there. Let us see the way it actually is vis-a-vis that of Toby Amusan. So that will stop all these, you know, forth and back.
Lamde, can I say something quickly?
Absolutely.
You know, talking about this immigration as well. You know, oftentimes, like Ibrahim is saying, that we hear people that are doing really well trying to leave because they feel like Nigeria is not safe. You look at the headlines that some of the journalists put sometimes, you know, and you're wondering what is going on. So I feel like that's something we also need to work on, selling Nigeria the right way. You know, when we see some things like these things happen in so many places, but they do not tell the bad things. But we always want to push the bad things out, and it's not helping us.
Absolutely, Tima. I completely agree with you. On the other hand, I do have to say that we must be careful not to be dismissive of the realities on ground. It's one thing to talk about the reportage surrounding immigration. It's one thing to talk about these people are capitalizing on the fact that there was some insecurity in Nigeria a few years ago, but there are hard realities on ground that affect our quality of life, and that is what the youth are trying to run away from. But I'll take some more stories. Now, with the rising cost of meat, fish, and eggs stretching all our household budgets, nutritionists are now urging Nigerians to return to cheaper traditional sources of protein. Options like beans, crayfish, snails, and even edible insects that were once common in our local diets are now being recommended by Nigerian nutritionists as affordable substitutes that can help families meet their nutritional needs. The experts say that these alternatives are not only rich in protein, but also culturally rooted, even though many younger Nigerians have now drifted away from such practices. But with food inflation at record highs, going back to these sources may be the practical solution to preventing malnutrition and diet-related illnesses. These warnings, of course, come against a grim backdrop of data because surveys show that 40% of Nigerian children under 5 are stunted, 27% of them are underweight, while nearly 80% of the population faces some form of food insecurity. As one nutritionist put it, embracing local protein sources may be the difference between hunger and health for millions. What do you say, guys? Are we going to be chewing up caterpillars and cockroaches very soon? Don't kill those wall geckos at home. Let's take a look at social media. Wonderlaw says, are Nigerians frogs? Only frogs eat insects. Jesus Christ. Prophet Speak says, the Bible does not support humans eating them, and all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, they shall be an abomination. You people like meat. But scripture doesn't bend for inflation, and holiness still costs. Interesting angle. But moving on into some entertainment news, where the federal government is celebrating celebrity chef Hilda Bassi's daring attempt to cook the world's largest pot of jollof rice. Now, it was a feat that drew over 20,000 people to Lagos's Echo Hotel and Suites under the banner Gino World Jollof Festival with Hilda Bassi. Now, of course, it was a fun and electrifying spectacle, but it had its own hiccups. Firstly, the massive pot caved in during the weighing process as cranes strained under its big size, and it sparked a lot of safety concerns. But still, thousands of portions were served, and as at yesterday, rice was still being shared on the streets of Lagos. But the event also drew a lot of sharp reactions online, which I want us to talk about. Many attendees jostled for food. Some were scooping rice with their bare hands and nylon bags, and other people were grumbling that the dish was tasteless, undercooked, it lacked meat, and it was a distraction and a spectacle of Nigeria's misplaced priorities. They said, why were 20,000 youth out there begging for rice? What does this do for our country? Now, the Guinness World Records is yet to confirm the achievement, but it did acknowledge Chef Hilda Bassi's attempt online. Hilda Bassi said that this wasn't just about a record for her. It was a cultural statement. She said she wanted to put Nigerian cuisine and creativity on the global stage and prove that jollof is not just food, but a symbol of Nigerian identity and pride. Congratulations. This reminds me of a quote by the famous president, Theodore Roosevelt. He said that the victory belongs to the man in the battlefield, the one who's in the battlefield, whose face is marred by blood and sweat, not the people in the pavilion or the sidelines. What do I know? Let's take a look at social media. This is a tweet by the Guinness World Records official X account. They said, what's cooking? Best of luck to Hilda Bassi Cooks, who's attempting a new record for the largest serving of Nigerian-style jollof rice today. Now, last year, they didn't tweet on time, and Nigerians ripped them to shreds. This time, sharp, they tweeted. Miracle Elvis says, the truth is, Hilda Bassi achieving the evenly dry state for that jollof rice is my biggest wonder. I have never achieved it even in my kitchen. Well done, champ. And finally, Candid Truth says, in a country where they say there is extreme hunger and starvation, 20,000 people paid 15,000 naira each just to watch Hilda Bassi cooking the largest pot of jollof rice in the world. I think it was free though. But he said that is 300 million naira spent on curiosity and trivia. The biggest problem with Nigeria is not hunger and starvation. Our big problem is misplaced priorities with little sense of purpose and direction. Team, this is very interesting. Very, very quickly, team. Let's touch on this very quickly. On one hand, nutritionists are saying we are facing a food crisis. Start eating cockroaches and crickets. Let's go back to our prehistoric diet. On one hand, Hilda Bassi is cooking this giant pot of jollof rice, and some people are saying there's no meat. What is going on?
Nutritionists are saying maybe you should start eating edible insects, not cockroaches and the rest. Come on, man. And hey, snails are not cheap. All right, snails are not cheap. Yes, protein in food is really, really expensive. And people are looking at other alternatives. There are insects that we enjoy in Nigeria, like termites, for example.
And caterpillars.
There's this other one called the palm tree worm. It's also very edible, and people really enjoy it. It's packed rich with protein and so on.
Yeah.
Hilda, I salute your courage. Whatever they say, let them keep saying it.
Very quickly.
Yes, and I'll just touch on only Hilda Bassi. You know, I ate that rice and it was sweet. So I do not understand what people are saying that the rice wasn't sweet. There was meat inside the rice as well. But you see, human wants insatisfiable. Nothing you do that they will say is good. And it's not even about the sweetness of the food. It's about how putting Nigeria on the map. So let's stop all the conversations on social media and let's support our own when they're doing something great. And it was free. Nobody paid to get into that, you know, the venue.
Ibrahim, your thoughts?
Those who are complaining about what the alternative food, if they go to China, they want to try any cuisine. And I tell you for a fact, you know, China eats anything that walks on the table that has 4 legs except table. They eat anything that fly in the sky except aeroplane. So if you go to China and then you are saying, yes, they have different cuisine, there is this winged termites that we used to eat. Yoruba call it esoson, very rich in protein. You know, you get it during, what did you call it?
Is it the same thing as shinge? What they call it in
I don't know what they call it anymore. But it's winged termites. You know, they come out during the rainy season,
especially the first.
And they are very, very rich.
Oh, I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah. So very rich in protein. So there are alternative foods that we can explore.
Thank you so much. It's important to note that the human body doesn't focus on whether it's meat or insects. It knows nutrients. That's the main thing.
Okay.
But moving on, time is of the essence.